Okie dokie. In this episode, our model railroad edition, we're going to be working on this Lionel HO scale, GP7. I picked it up for nearly nothing because it does not run, and it's got some, if I can turn it around here, I'm dropping it again, some body damage right there. And we're also going to announce the winner of our O scale grain car. So let's get started.
Southern Scratcher, whoa. We have some Scratcher tickets trying to win the lotto. Comment, like, and subscribe before you go.
Okie dokie. I'm not going to make you wait till the end of the video. We'll go ahead and announce the winner of the O scale grain train grain hopper there. Goes to Stephanie Hensley. Stephanie, I'll put that in the mail in the morning and message you the tracking number. My mother was a Hensley. What about that? And if you entered, there will be many more opportunities. We're going to try to give something away pretty regular. So congratulations, Stephanie, and let's get to working on this little Jeep. Okie dokie, the first thing we'll do is put it on our little test track here and throw some juice to it and see what it'll do. Yep. I'm going to shake it a little bit and it'll catch traction. Nope, it won't do anything. And the reason I was interested in getting this, if you shake it, you can hear some rattling around on the inside. And look at that brake. Even though that's on the corner, that took a pretty good hit. And I haven't opened this up. What I'm hoping is this particular model that was made for Lionel, the motor just kind of wedges down in this frame to make contact. So I'm hoping maybe this hit just knocked the little motor loose in there. And maybe that's all it is. Let's take it down to the bench and see. Okie dokie. Now the first part, if you're wanting to, to buy a locomotive, if you're at a train show or something like that, and you see one that's broke, you can usually pick it up pretty cheap. But let me give you a little tidbit of advice there. You always want to, if it's got the piece with it, that's ultimately what you want, is to have the piece with it. But you want something that's had a fairly clean brake. And see how that's going to be able to glue back in there with no problem. What you don't want to mess with is something that's in a couple different pieces or missing a piece. Now if it was chipped out of there, you could glue it back and fill that in with some squadron putty and get that sanded down flat. But if you're trying to replace a step, now they've loaded the glue up there, getting this grab iron on there, but everything else looks okay. Of course, we're going to take that step off there because we're going to be modeling a later model. All right, let's take the cab off of these. I always the shell off these. I always like these compared to Athearn's GP9s or 7 that came out. Athearn had a really wide body, and when you're looking at it the side on the Athearn, it really didn't, you couldn't tell at all. But if you look at it from the short end or the long end, it had this massive wide body on it. Their SD45s were the same way. They corrected that when they come out with their SD40-2 because they were using a smaller motor. They had such a wide body on them to accommodate this big round motor that they had in it. But they come apart basically the same way. They've got some little clips there on the side. To get this massive screwdriver to get that. There we go. That may have not been removed in a long time. That's maybe why it was so stuck on there. Good gosh, I hope they didn't have it glued. There we go. Yep, that was what I was thinking. See how that motor is loose? And when it's loose that way, it doesn't make good contact with the motor, with the frame. Get this drive shaft put back in there on both the front and the back. I have to set it down to get that drive shaft put in the back. Get it turned around there a little bit. There we go. And see how this motor just wedges down in there, and it's got a contact point. Get this to focus. Let me get it at an angle. See that little point right there? That's got to wedge down in that receiver in that frame like that. And go down in there. See, once it's down in there, it's going to stay. But a knock that hit it as hard as it did to break the front of that shell knocks that little motor loose there. And that should be enough to get it running. So let's go back to the bench or to the test track and see if that done the trick. Okie dokie. We'll see if we can. There we go. It's got a little bit of oil on the track all the way around there. There we go, it's a little better. Track's not clean there the way it should be. Alrighty, cool. Now let's address this body and see what we can get done about that. Okie doke. I was going to explain how to get this glued back together, but I was in a hurry to get this video posted for the winner of the O scale car, and I cannot find my little box that I have my glue in. But I want to explain to you there's two ways you could glue this. One's with a plastic cement and one's with a CA glue like super glue. I suggest using the CA glue, super glue. If you use the plastic cement, how it glues things together is it kind of melts both pieces of plastic, and it really needs to be the same material. Of course, with this it would be no problem because it's both the same type of plastic. But on these real thin areas, sometimes that melting process, get up where the camera you can see it, the melting process will distort that and make it well, it'll discolor it and then it'll warp it. And you don't want that. If it's a thicker piece of plastic, you know, if it was as thick as this step right there, you know, that area there, it'd be okay. But when you get down to these thin areas where you're trying to overlap a crack, you know, where it's broke loose, you want something that's not going to do that. So CA glue or super glue would be what you want to use for that. And how I usually do it is I'll squirt out a daub of super glue on a piece of paper, and then take a toothpick and down into the super glue, and then onto the, instead of trying to squeeze it out of the tube onto the crack, it'll run out everywhere. And you just need just a real small amount. That's another mistake that people make, is they put too much glue and then it runs out and makes an area like you see there. That's what's happened. Somebody's put too much glue on that and it's squirted out and dried up and made a clear hump there. If they would have put this, if I can get this out, if they would have put the super glue down on a piece of paper and then took that stanchion and dipped it down in there and then put it in the hole, you wouldn't have that problem, because the super glue would just be on the two surfaces that you wanted glued. Cool. And one other thing that's neat about these Lionel units of these years, you can use the stanchions from a Athearn kit. They'll fit in these holes almost perfectly, and you can use those to bend over and replace your handrail on that truck. I mean, on that locomotive. And other than that, the bonk horns are on there, and no other damage. So that'll make a nice unit. Okay, doke. Congratulations to Stephanie again, and thank you guys for watching. If you want to, you can watch today's regular train video action. We're going to do these videos separate, so if you don't like if you're not interested in doing the model trains, you can just watch the regular train videos. All right, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.